They told us Africa had no history, that its people built no monuments, no lasting civilizations, no cities worth remembering. But hidden in the southern highlands of Zimbabwe lies a secret that shatters that lie into dust. Gigantic stone walls rise from the earth, curving in graceful arcs, standing tall without mortar to hold them. A labyrinth of stone passageways, towers, and enclosures stretches across the land. This is Great Zimbabwe, a city built by African hands, a city that once commanded trade routes, ruled over vast lands, and stunned the world with its engineering brilliance. And yet, for centuries, outsiders denied its origin, inventing myths to erase African genius. Tonight, we uncover the secrets of the stone cities, the rise of Great Zimbabwe, its mysterious fall, and why its story still matters today. To understand the wonder of Great Zimbabwe, we must begin with its setting. The land of Zimbabwe is marked by rolling hills, granite outcrops, and fertile valleys. The Shona people, ancestors of today's Zimbabweans, lived in this landscape for centuries, farming millet, herding cattle, and crafting iron tools. But somewhere between the 11th and 15th centuries, their skills and ambitions grew into something extraordinary. Around a rocky hilltop, they began to stack stones, carefully, precisely, without cement, into walls that curved like waves of granite frozen in motion. These walls were no crude defenses. They were artistry in stone. Some reached over 10 meters high and stretched for hundreds of meters. The Great Enclosure, the largest of these structures, is still the largest ancient stone building in sub-Saharan Africa. For years, scholars debated what these walls meant. Were they fortresses, royal palaces, temples? The answer is, all of them, and more. The Great Zimbabwe was not just a city. It was a statement of power, a center of trade, a religious hub, and the beating heart of a mighty kingdom. Within its walls lived elites, kings, and priests, while outside spread a bustling community of farmers, craftsmen, and traders. Cattle pens stood nearby, symbols of wealth and livelihood. Markets thrived with goods from across Africa and beyond. Archaeologists have uncovered beads from India, porcelain from China, and coins from Persia, all testifying to a global network of trade that passed through this stone city. Great Zimbabwe was not isolated. It was connected to the Indian Ocean trade through ports like Sofala, where gold and ivory from the interior were exchanged for cloth, glass, and exotic luxuries. Gold was the lifeblood of Great Zimbabwe. The land around it was rich in gold deposits, and its rulers became wealthy by controlling its extraction and trade. Gold moved in caravans eastward to the coast, then across the seas to Arabia, India, and China. Ivory followed along with animal skins and slaves. In return, foreign goods poured back into Zimbabwe, enriching its elite and elevating its status. At its height, Great Zimbabwe may have housed between 15,000 and 20,000 people, a bustling metropolis of stone and earth in the African interior. The king, known as the Mwene Mutapa, ruled from within the stone enclosures, projecting power through ritual, architecture, and wealth. The stone walls themselves were symbols of authority. They weren't built to keep enemies out. They were built to impress subjects, to awe visitors, to embody the permanence of royal power. But as impressive as the city was, its origins became the subject of one of the most shameful distortions in history. When Europeans first encountered the ruins in the 16th century, they marveled at the structures but could not, or would not, believe that Africans had built them. Portuguese explorers spun tales of lost tribes of Israel, of Arabs, or even of wandering Phoenicians who must have constructed the stone walls. By the 19th century, European colonial powers doubled down on this myth, claiming the ruins as proof of foreign builders, because admitting that Africans had built such a city contradicted the racist narrative of Africa as a land without civilization. Only in the 20th century did archaeology confirm what the Shona people had always known. Great Zimbabwe was built by their ancestors, using local materials, techniques, and genius. The denial of this truth was not about evidence. It was about power, about controlling history to justify colonization. The architecture of Great Zimbabwe is its greatest testimony. Built without mortar, The walls rely on the careful shaping and placement of granite blocks. The precision is astonishing. Even after centuries of weathering, the walls still stand strong. The curved forms are unique, not random, and scholars believe they carried symbolic meanings. The conical tower within the great enclosure, for instance, is often interpreted as a symbol of abundance or authority. The spatial layout of the enclosures reflects social hierarchy, with elites living within the walls and commoners outside. This urban planning demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of both engineering and society. Religion was central to the life of Great Zimbabwe. The Shona people believed in ancestral spirits and in a high god known as Mwari. Rituals were performed within the stone enclosures, where priests and rulers mediated between the living and the spiritual world. The city itself may have been seen as sacred space, its stone walls embodying not just political power, but spiritual protection. The bird carvings found at the site, known as the Zimbabwe birds, are among the most famous artifacts. Carved from soapstone, these sculptures represent birds perched on pedestals, combining avian and human features. They likely symbolize the connection between rulers and ancestors, between earth and sky. Today, the Zimbabwe bird is the national emblem of Zimbabwe, a powerful reminder of this ancient legacy. Yet for all its grandeur, Great Zimbabwe did not last forever. By the 15th century, the city was abandoned. Why? Historians and archaeologists debate the reasons. One theory points to environmental strain. As the population grew, the land around the city may have been overgrazed by cattle, the forests cut down for firewood, the soil depleted by farming. Without resources to sustain its people, the city may have collapsed under its own weight. Another theory emphasizes political shifts. As power moved northward to new centers like Mutapa, Great Zimbabwe may have been abandoned in favor of fresher lands and new trade routes. Still others argue that climate change played a role, with droughts disrupting agriculture and forcing migration. The truth may lie in a combination of these factors: environmental pressure, economic shifts, and political decisions. Whatever the cause, the stone walls remained, silent witnesses to a vanished empire. When the Portuguese wrote of Great Zimbabwe in the 16th century, they spoke of it as a wonder. When European colonists seized Zimbabwe in the 19th century, they tried to rewrite its story, erasing the African builders from memory. But today, the truth is undeniable. Great Zimbabwe was built by Africans, for Africans, and it stands as one of the greatest monuments of African civilization. Its legacy endures not just in its ruins, but in the pride of the Zimbabwean people, who named their nation after it. Great Zimbabwe forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. For centuries, the world was told that Africa contributed nothing to civilization. The stone walls say otherwise. They tell us of a people who built, traded, worshipped, and ruled with sophistication equal to any on earth. They tell us of a city that was part of a global network long before the modern age. They tell us of resilience, creativity, and identity. In a world that still struggles with stereotypes about Africa, the stones of Zimbabwe speak louder than words. Even now, questions remain. How exactly were the walls built? What rituals were performed within the enclosures? Why was the city abandoned? Archaeology continues to uncover answers, but the mystery adds to the allure. Great Zimbabwe is not just history, it is legend, memory, and symbol. It challenges us to rethink what we know, to question the lies we've been told, and to celebrate the genius of African civilizations. So the next time you hear someone say Africa had no history, remember the stone cities of Zimbabwe. Remember the walls that have stood for centuries, built without mortar but with vision. Remember the birds carved in stone, the gold that glittered in distant markets, the people who walked those walls with pride. Great Zimbabwe is not lost. It lives on in stone, in memory, and in the spirit of a continent that has always been far more than the world was willing to admit.